All right, we should have the mic going now. G'day Ethan, how you doing? Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear and the audio quality is pretty good. I normally have my phone here, so I can check that myself. It was muted. Is it still muted, mate, or are we good now? I just turned the mic on. Let me know if that's pretty good now. And then we'll get started. We're going to do a beginner's... good mate, good. We're going to do... welcome guys, welcome. Zed Run is exploding. Discord numbers through the roof. So welcome if you're brand new to Zed Run and you've managed to find myself here. We're going to do a little bit of a beginner wrap of all the things that you really need to know in the first couple of months of Zed Run, with a few little extra tips in there as well. Hey Kyle, how you doing? Good to have you here. All right, we're sounding good. Guys, if you have a Twitter feed or Facebook or anything like that and you want to share while we're just warming up here, while we're just waiting for a few people to come in, feel free to share. As always, hit the like button as a little bit of a admission to the video. What are we going to be talking about today? We'll answer a few questions, so be sure. Hey Martin, how you doing? We'll do some questions, so throw your questions in the chit chat. We're going to be looking at, buying your first horse, whether it be through something like Open C, maybe aftermarket, or at the next drop. We'll talk about what that might look like and the chances of getting one. Look, to be honest, I still think you're a pretty good chance of getting one at the drop, so don't panic too much just yet, would be my advice. As always, this is not meant to be financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. It's just my opinion on Zed Run. We'll also talk about, racing for the first time. What else should we talk about? I said there was 5 things. We're just going to make up 5 or 10 things that we should be looking at. Of course, when you set up your MetaMask, if you're new to crypto, like a lot of people are, well, I was not new to crypto when I started, but I was certainly new to MetaMask. So make sure, there's a lot of scams out there. So we'll touch on that first, actually. There's a lot of scams. I nearly got scammed yesterday with a fake NFT. Looked too good to be true, and it was too good to be true, and I spotted it just before I clicked the buy now button, and it was going to cost me, I think about $12,000 roughly, and I just spotted it. Now I thought it looked like a really valuable NFT that could have been worth $100,000, so I thought, oh yeah, you beauty. But it was actually an elaborate scam. It was a very good one. I wonder if it's still there. It was part of that Appymon. Appymon eggs was one of the ultra rares that had been essentially copied, but it wasn't a real one. All right, we're going to have a nice little intimate session today, guys. We've got 6 viewers. Woo, boo, 6 viewers. 3 of you are right there, Ethan, Kyle and Martin. If the other 3 people want to jump on and say hello, that'd be nice. Let's jump in. We won't mess about too much. We'll get into the content and have a look. So, when you first start Zed Run, you might discover this through, a Discord or one of your mates or whatnot. And then with a lot of NFTs, you guys, even if you've already got Zed Run horses, would probably understand this as well. With a lot of NFTs, the prime time to buy is often when they're being released from the original body. So in this case, being released from Zed Run themselves. Okay, the original minted Genesis is often the best time to buy any NFT project. Not always, but often the better time. But the hardest part, Pony Plug's on. That's okay. That's okay, all good. People will swing by here later maybe. I'm not a big one for numbers and whatnot, so it's no big deal. So the hardest part is often discovering when these public sales are on. Now, the great thing about Zed Run is there's 36 or 38,000 Genesis. I always get that mixed up, but somewhere around about there, and they've only sold to date, I think, about, let's have a look actually. Let's jump on Open C here for a minute. Let me switch over screens. Let's come over here. Before we go on here, let's have a look at how many Genesis they've sold. Zed Run it not coming up on here today? Picasso Zed Run, what was that? Well, that's piqued my interest. Zed. What is this? Is it actually anything? No, it's not. Someone's reserved the name, I guess. Okay, let's go. Little diversion. Let's go to Zed Run. Here we go. And if we come down to here and we tick Genesis. Oh, not that one. Is it breed type? Yep. 10,000 apparently. I think that's relatively accurate. Okay, so roughly about 10,000. Hey Dan, how you doing? Good to have you. Another Kyle. Hey Kyle. Two Kyles. 10,000. So there's still, looks like over 20,000 left, which is absolutely incredible. It means any of you that are watching right now, you know, you're super early and you're going to get the opportunity of buying at the next public drop. Now, I've got a little bit of a hunch that they might drop the lot in one go next time. I don't have any inside information. There's some pluses and minuses. I kind of like the idea of the Genesis selling out pretty soon, and I also like the idea of them dropping 20,000 in one go to give all of us that are currently here a really good opportunity to buy another, one or two horses. That would be absolutely incredible. Now, if they go ahead and only drop like 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000, and there's 10 or 15,000 people trying to buy them, or 20,000 people trying to buy them, that's when we're going to have that somewhat frustrating experience to some degree again, because most people are going to miss out, I guess. Now, I guess if you're a brand new player though, you might want them to do another 3 or 4, 5 or 6,000 horse drops to give you an opportunity to sort of buy one and then save up some ETH and buy another one, and then save up some ETH and maybe buy another one. But again, it's going to get pretty hectic. It's going to get pretty hectic to try and get those horses if we keep increasing in numbers the rate we are increasing at. And you can see there's some pretty incredible media stories floating around. There was a story on Zed Run in the New York Times featuring a photo or a screenshot of Doofy's Atari with an exclamation point. I like to call it Atar. G'day Corey, how you doing? Oh, we got 12. It's a lovely little intimate. I like these little intimate gatherings. You can have your 600 or your 1,000 or your 10,000 members. We'll just have our little chit-chats between you and me and a cup of tea. It's probably the evening over there if you're having a beer, or it might not be quite that time. But yes, so a couple of different variations on the drop. Let's talk about the drop a little bit whilst we are... Let's go back to full screen so we can have a you and me chat. Let's talk about the drop a little bit and how it might look. The last few drops, and actually I'll do a little bit of a correction. The last video that I produced talking about if I had a $5,000 budget, some of those numbers were a little inaccurate. Okay, so always consider or always assume my numbers are a little inaccurate when you're watching my videos talking about finances and whatnot. Raymond, that's an interesting question. We may as well broach that. Why are they letting people with more than X number of horses buy more? Seems like if they want new users, they should let us buy or win a couple of horses. Yeah, it's a fair point. Look, the blockchain projects don't like to put these sort of constraints. As far as I can see through experience, blockchain projects like to be decentralized and like to give everyone a fair chance regardless of their current situation. So if you've got 100 horses or no horses, then generally, now I don't know, maybe they will put some sort of restriction on those that have huge stables, but look, those big stables are just going to get around it by signing their wife up to another wallet, or it's going to happen anyway. When you're talking horses that are probably selling at the public sale for 20 or 50% of what the actual market value is going to be to flip them the next day, people are going to get around it that way. But I understand what you're saying, that if they were really really focused on building the new players, then maybe they would restrict that, but I don't think that's going to be the case because, look, what's going to happen is when the breeding opens up for a good month, we're going to get a flood of 5,000 or 10,000 horses, and eventually those market prices are going to drop. I can see within a few months, you're going to be able to buy, probably not the greatest horse, but you're going to be able to buy bred horses for probably $10 or $20, I would think, and that in turn will probably, not financial advice, make the Genesis horses more valuable because as we get an ecosystem of horses in the future of 500,000 or 1 million horses, and there are only 38,000 of those, the relative rarity of those Genesis is going to continually increase and increase dramatically and exponentially over time, I would think. So that will be really interesting. So absolutely, if you can get your hands on a Z10 or anything, that would be something that I would be definitely considering. My little boy, I've got a little almost 7-year-old, and he's getting right into NFTs. He loves the dragons and the horses and the different little characters. And so I'm going to maybe make him up a little wallet and we'll put some in there. And he'll probably forget about it for 5 or 10 years. I'll keep an eye on it and we'll see what happens to those in 10 years. It should be an interesting time vault from this period of time when NFTs are just, this is the breaking new ground, the man on the moon moment for the NFTs, in my opinion. Now, be careful though, be careful. It's interesting at the moment, everything that's called NFT at the moment is selling for ridiculous money. But like anything that spikes up really quickly, think back if you've been around since 2017 when all the ICOs, anything with crypto in it, whether it be shares, whether it be ICOs, anything, all the junk coins were all spiking up, doing, 10x's, 20x's, etc., etc. Now, a lot of those projects, probably the majority of those projects, ended up being next to worthless. Now, again, this is not financial advice on the downside. Just be careful. Just be careful with the NFTs. Not all the NFTs that are currently being thrown into the market are going to be worth 10x or 20x in 5 years' time. There's going to be a lot of them that will be junk, in my opinion, and there will be a select few that will be very, very valuable. How you find them is up to, what you think is valuable. Have a think about, in the art world, I'm an artist from, my background is photography, so I'm in the art world to a degree, and I've studied sales and this and that, and it generally comes, one of the things that I look for, this is just me, what I look for, is narrative. What is the narrative behind this project or behind this particular piece that the story is going to be still told in 5 years? Okay, have a think about what is going to make this special in a few years. Now, I wasn't planning on talking about NFTs, but there we go, a little bit of side note. Thanks, Raymond. Yeah, thumbs up. 16 viewers, 10 likes. We're doing pretty good, guys. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. That would be great too. Now, similarly, with the NFTs, that some of them are going to be, or probably many of them are going to be junk, and then a select few are going to be very valuable. Zed Run could be similar. Now at the moment, with a huge influx of new users, pretty much like the NFT market, everything Zed Run is selling for multiples. All right? But again, give that 2 or 3 months of the breeding program and we have another 20, 30, 40,000 horses in the system. All of a sudden, there's going to be a whole bunch of horses that are very difficult to sell because they don't really have that something that makes them special. Maybe they're a relatively common colour, they don't have great bloodlines, they might be a lower breed type, they might not be great racers, and their parents might not be great racers. Now, what's the narrative around that horse when there's 1,000 of those type horses all trying to be sold into the market at the same time? Currently, you can get away with it to a degree because of the new user base coming in. But keep an eye on that as well, because again, in Zed Run, not all horses are going to be valuable in the future. In the future. Continad, if I had 500, what horse would I buy? I don't know how much you're going to make. I would try and buy a Genesis. Whatever the one is, look, you're probably only going to get one Genesis, I think. If you get one Genesis next drop, I think you're doing well. If you aim for two, then you might only get one, and you might only spend half your budget. If you really have 500 to spend and it's money that you don't care about too much and you're willing to risk it on an NFT project, then I would buy a $500 Genesis or a horse, roughly around that budget. And how much will you make? Look, I don't know. Have a look at the pricing on OpenSea. There's some good stats pages. Look, if you jump over to, I've got a Facebook group now. If you Google, have a look in the description actually, there's a link to Poseidon Racing Facebook. It's growing really, really nicely, a nice friendly, community-based, sharing, supportive Facebook group. Very chilled, it's awesome. You're all invited to join there if you haven't already. And we're building up some great resources in there, some pages that will have all these different links where you can do price research, etc., etc. Well, these messages retracting. Anyway, flash up and disappear. Am I seeing any data racing trends of late? Asks Corey. A lot of competition has been concentrated with higher races of each class and not much variation. Corey, I haven't raced in about 2 or 3 weeks myself. I've been busy doing other things, and I'm really waiting to see how they rejig the class system and all those types of things. So yeah, I haven't seen any trends. There's a lot of good horses coming through. A lot of good horses coming through. Dan, heard about Zed in June 2020, that's when I joined, Dan. Should have invested then. Look, yeah, it's always in hindsight. It's hard unless you're already thinking about NFTs and wanting to play NFTs and get involved with an NFT game, then it all looks a bit foreign. So often, and it's like with any type of marketing like that, it often takes 3 or 4 reminders about the project till you think, hey, I should really get into that. Or in some cases, it can see the project really blowing up and you think, wow, I should get into that now. Raymond, on the drop, will they or can they adjust prices within Zed if ETH keeps going up and up? Yeah, in the past, the prices have been more loosely based to USD at the public drops than Ethereum. Now, originally, when they did that about 8 months ago, I kicked up a big stink because I was like, we're investing these big bags of ETH in here and now you're going to tie it to currency that we're all, or a lot of us, are trying to escape. But from a new player coming in, it's a very, very good thing, I think, and it means that you're getting these horses at really, really good value. So in actual fact, with ETH being really, really high, it's good for those of us that might have a few spare ETH sitting around because you've got more purchasing power to maybe buy a Z1 or a Z2 or whatever budget you might have. Kyle has a good racing colt currently. When they implement more attributes, would I expect them to still be good, if not better? Yeah, I would, but I would expect them to still be good. Maybe not better, but still be good. Maybe better in certain aspects. Who knows? I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. But but I also think that the game is moving relatively quickly at the moment, and there could be a few reasons around that. Obviously, the breeding, and there's a lot of new great horses coming through that are bred. And there also might be, the actual improvement curve, if you like. There might be a lot of room to grow very, very early, okay? To sort of catch up to the Genesis level, and then it might plateau off, and the future improvements might be much smaller and smaller as we sort of get closer and closer to whatever is the ceiling of where the greatest horse can sort of finish up being. If there is a ceiling, we don't even know if there is a ceiling. Okay, let's get back on track here for a second, guys. Let's get back on track. So we were talking about Genesis and drops. Now the other option is, and I don't have that here yet, do I? Let's have a look at Matic Open C. VV, competition's getting pretty tough, is it? Yeah, it might be. I think it has been tough for a while, to be honest. And that's one of the reasons why I've sort of pulled my horses back and just sort of sitting and resting and seeing what they're going to come up with next, because I really value the win percentage. And to be honest, I've got one or two horses that are really, really good, but they have really high win percentages, and I don't really want to deteriorate that too much. And I don't have too many gun-bred horses, because when breeding opened, I only did one breed. I only bred 7 horses, and 3 or 4 of which ended up going to other stables. I think I've only got a couple of those left. So I didn't end up with any gun-bred races because I was sort of sitting back waiting, and then we were breeding right on the day it closed down. I got the 7 done, and we were about to go through our entire stable and breed 50 or 100 horses, and they closed it down. So we missed the boat there. But yeah, I think that's why you're seeing an improvement in the racing quality, or the racing strength, or race strength. Now, Matic Open C, you can see the URL up here, matic.openc.io. It's a bit crappy at the moment because there's not many search filters, and look, it's really, really slow today too, isn't it? But you can jump on here and have a look. And look, if you're a brand new beginner and you don't have a horse yet, then my advice would be, number 1, I would definitely wait and see if you can get one at the drop. Number 2, if you're absolutely desperate to get in and have a race, then me, not financial advice, but if it were me, I would jump over here to maticopenc.io. This would be one of the first things I would do. I would click price low to high. Let's see what comes up. If we got any $100 horses or $150 horses, probably not, because Ether's like gone through the roof. So people don't change these prices all the time, and they are in Ethereum. So you can put a horse for sale at like $150 one week, and then Ethereum sort of goes up by 50%. Nah, Dan, yeah, you can go back and watch the start if you want, Dan, but we're only just getting going. We're only just getting going. Be sure to hit the like button on your way in. Gee, this is slow today. They must be doing an update or something, because normally it's a lot faster than this, and my internet's pretty good. Here we go. LeBron James. Okay, so negotiation. Crikey, there's not much there, is there? Look, what I would be trying to do is try and get a horse as cheap as you can. Under 200 would be nice. Under 100 even better. Look, there's not many here. You've got this one at 185. If we click on that, is it going to take half an hour to load this page as well? I would assume that 185 price is the low end of the negotiation level. You can also, while we're waiting for that to load up, you can also join. I'm not on the Zed Run Discord anymore because it's a bit hectic, to be honest. That's why I formed the Facebook group. But if you are on there, have a look at the people that are, you know, rather active, and talk to the admin guys like Jay and Rod and a few others, and see if they know anyone that has a whole bunch of bred horses that they might sell one cheap. Just be careful though. I mean, it might be easier to ask them to then list that horse on Matic Open C so you can buy safely. If you're doing like behind the scenes transaction where you're going to give them the Ethereum and then they send you the horse, that can be a bit risky because people have been duped out of their ETH that way and not received a horse. So be very careful with that. There's a lot of people in the crypto world that want to take your money, take your Ethereum away from you with different variations on scams. So keep an eye on that. Any raffle giveaways, be very skeptical, be very wary of. Any airdrops, be very, very wary of. Never, ever, ever type in your seed phrase into absolutely anything, okay? You really need to consider that if it's asking for a seed phrase. No one ever should need your seed phrase at all. Only you need it in case you ever lose your account to regenerate that account. Well, we're not going to load that page, all right? But anyway, we get the point. If you're desperate to race, just buy the cheapest horse you can. Buy the cheapest horse you can. Don't go and spend $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, or at least I wouldn't go and spend that sort of money on your first horse within the first couple of weeks, because chances are the horses that are being sold because they are not the greatest. And if you do want the greatest, be aware that you're going to be paying 5 ETH, 10 ETH, 20 ETH, 30 ETH for some of these horses, or even more in some cases. If you're looking at Ducky Malone, or Malin, sorry, Ducky Malin, I always say that wrong, my horse Grandeur or my brother's horse Breathless Edge, you would have to pay significantly more than that for those particular horses. All right, so we're there, we've done that. So you're sort of around that, maybe wait for the drop, maybe try and get a really cheap horse if you're desperate. Then what do we do with it? Well, we come over here to Zed Run, and I won't run through the wallet setup, but you come over here and you click on your races, you set up your wallet. Check out Doofy Racing on YouTube. Go over there, subscribe to that. He's got a great little set up your MetaMask wallet video. Follow along with that. And then come over here and you can enter your horse into a race. Now, if it's never raced before, you'll need to scroll down and find one of these griffins. Okay? This is for horses that have never raced. If your horse has raced before, and you'll know that because when you click on here, you'll have and then you click on a number. If you connected your wallet, it will bring up your stable. And if your horse is greyed out, that means that it's you're not able to race in that griffin. And next to your horse, when it's greyed out, it will have its class number, either a 1. These are the class numbers here: 1, 2, 3 in brown, 4 in green, and 5 in dark green. All right. So they're the class numbers. So you would choose one of those. Now, at the moment, the class system's a bit sucky, and I'll show you why. If we jump over here to class 4, this is one of the lower classes. We've got 9 in there, and what we're seeing is there is all these really dominant horses. Look at this, 14 wins out of, what are we running percentage-wise? 20% win rate. 12% win rate, probably similar. 14 there, Boom time, 11% win rate. There's some really good horses in here. So if you've got a horse that's a bit iffy and you go straight into paid racing, just be aware you're probably throwing that money away to some degree. So have a look for the cheaper ones. If you just want to get a bit of a taste, just throw in, a cheaper one, $2.37 here. There's 11 in here. Let's look at the quality. It's still really good. There's still great horses, but not as many. See here? Razwana, not a great horse. This one doesn't look like a great horse. This one's, very early on. Okay? So just be aware that currently the class system is not perfect. The game's being rejigged currently to be absolutely awesome. The development team is unreal. But at the moment, a lot of these paid races are being dominated by proven winners. And then you have this newish horse, you don't really know much about it, and you chuck it in there, throw it in there. And look, to be honest, if you jump in and start throwing in horses, there's some pretty expensive races in here. There's, $500 a head, an entry fee race here, okay? So, you maybe don't want to be throwing away $500 because these are some of the best horses in the game right here. Shout out to Tyler with Wild Catter there. Who else did I see? Was it Rendezvous? Your good mate, Good Boy Racing. I don't know these two though. That's a new horse. One that I haven't seen much of, okay. 7% win rate. I mean, have a look at some of these prize monies too. $17,000. Let's see if we can find Ducky Malone in a race here. She's more of a short distance girl. Oh, look at that, free racing. Now that's the other thing you can look for. Every now and then a free race will pop up and you can throw your horse in there for a bit of fun. The way that you know a free race is coming is you come here to Next to Run and you look for the $5 pots. Scroll down, I haven't seen one yet. There's one, that's a free race. There you go, $5 pot. Now when that race finishes in 39, 40 minutes, a brand new Class 2 free race will pop up and you can jump in real quick. But they don't last long. This one over here is probably already gone. I know you can see 9 of 12. So you can test your horses that way. Let's see if Ducky Malin, There's no short class ones. I just wanted to show you guys. Is she in any of these? No, probably not. She's probably a 1600 maximum, I think. And there's none there. Was she in this one? I doubt it. Maybe not a 5. But Ducky Malin, I had a look yesterday. Ah, nice VV. You got that one. You got that one. I'm here to help. Ducky Malin was in a race yesterday. There was a huge $500 pot race. Let's see if we can see it. Results. A couple of those have gone off. If we go filters here and go class 1s, you'll see there's a few. Look at this. Oh, here we go. $6,100 pot. Who won it? Who won it? Rest in peace. But there's some horses. This is my brother's horse, Alive After 5, with some big pots, 11,000. But Ducky Malin, might be in this one. Is Ducky in this one? Y2K2K, that's a new horse coming, that's burst onto the scene. Here's Ducky Malin. Check out the prize money of this. Is it going to show me? Look at that. Nice, eh? Now, don't expect that you're going to buy a horse and get that. That's a one in currently about, 20, 30,000 horses that is producing that. That's the most prize money in the entire game currently, and it probably is, in my opinion, the best horse. So, don't expect that you're going to jump in and have a horse that just wins 50,000. It's possible, but it's unlikely. It's unlikely. Now, when you do enter your first race, you then need to track a few things. What do you need to track? All sorts of stuff if you want. You could track just about everything. It's time, speed, splits, odds, wins, win percentage, these sort of things. But in my opinion, currently, the most important element or the most important stat that you need to track, in my opinion, the most accurate, is over here at playwithzest.com. If you type in Zest Play in Google, you should come up with this, Zest Play. And if we click on a race, when your race is about to run, you'll be able to see the odds, okay? $8, the lower the money here, the lower the odds, the better the horse. So here we go, here's the favourite, American Odyssey, $6.23. Chances are that's a very, very good horse. If we come down to the next, now if you put your horse in a race and it's 30 to 1 or 40 to 1, at that particular distance, so here we go, 1800 is the next one I'm looking at here. See that distance there, 1800? Okay, who's the favourite? There's an 880, this one's a pretty tight race. 810, that's the favourite by the look of things. Black Sheep, that's a cool name. Forgot the capital letter though. There's another newbie mistake. My brother's always doing that, forgetting to put the capitals in. Always put the capitals in, if you can, because it looks a bit sloppy without the capital. But Black Sheep looks like a pretty decent horse. Now, let's have a look. Are there any terrible horses? Nothing terrible. 22 and 23. I'd keep my eye on that. If you've got a 30 to 1er, 40 to 1er, probably don't run it in that distance too many more times, because the odds are giving you a great window, a great insight into the distance preference of your horse currently. Okay, so here we go. Here's this horse, Statue of Freedom, at 2200 is producing 46 to 1. That would be the last 2200 that I would put that horse in. Now, you could put that horse in a 1,000-metre race and it could be 5 to 1 or 6. Well, it usually doesn't quite go that way. If you've got a really bad horse, it's generally not really good at another distance, but it could come right down to 12s. Who knows? It could come down to 5 or 6s. I haven't seen it at all. But it could happen. But yeah, just check around. So generally, you get that horse. If you've got a brand new Griffin, never run horse, then what I like to do, you don't want to run it 100 times if it's just 40 to 1 and you just get 100 races with 1/3 placing, because then it's going to really, really drop the value of that horse. And it's a little bit deceptive, right? But you want to make your horses look as good as you possibly can. So if you put it in its first Griffin and it's like 30 to 1 at 2200, then you make a little note. Oh, okay, maybe put an X through 2200. And then the next race you put it in, you might want to put it down at 1,000 metres or 1200 and see. And it might be 8 to 1. You go, oh, beauty, I can run at 8 to 1 and get some good stats going. And that's a good horse. Just because it's bad here doesn't mean that it can't be good here. And then you would slowly, if you're at 1,000 or 1,200 and it's good odds, you would slowly creep to 14 to 16 to 18, keeping an eye on those odds until you sort of drift to around 15s, and then I'd start putting some X's through those again. Okay, now it can vary dramatically. Sometimes the Griffins can be really, really weak, and you get a horse that's even 3 to 1, $3, or sorry, the dollars here and the 3 to 1 don't relate perfectly. 3 to 1 is actually $4 in metric odds, like you have here. We'll explain that another day, it's not important. So I should be just talking in $3. So if you have a $3 horse, then it could go into its next paid race and it could be 12s, 15s or 18s. Okay, and that just means that that particular style of horse is not particularly suited to really strong fields, but might be really quite dominant in weak fields. Okay, so there's some things to think about there as well. Now, as far as what you need to know currently, the game is relatively simple. It's relatively simple at the moment. The only aspects or the only criteria that you need to worry about at this point is race distance, okay? In the future, they're going to implement things like weather, location preference, and even gate preference, and even fatigue. But currently they're not on the table. The only preference that you have to worry about is distance preference, and currently the easiest way to find out what distance your horse likes is not, believe it or not, currently, is not win percentage or finishing third or fourth in a particular distance. It's the odds here. It's the odds. Okay, so you could have a horse that's 40 to 1 and it finishes first at a particular distance. I honestly wouldn't put that horse back in that distance. I wouldn't do it because I've seen it happen before. It was a lucky win, and it's probably, if you keep putting it in that distance, you'll end up potentially losing, the next 9 or so you're drifting back and back and back. So I'd have a look around and see what other distances might be more suitable. So buying a horse, either at the drop or try and buy a really cheap horse just to get you in and learn the game. Whilst you're learning the game, watch all the YouTube you can. Look back at some of my first videos because that's when I was first learning as well, and there's some good little gold nuggets of knowledge back there too. Check out Doofy Racing on YouTube too. Hit the thumbs up, as Raymond said. Thanks, Raymond. That's awesome. Anyway, let's have a look at some questions. That's really what I wanted to talk about. As far as breeding goes, again, have a bit of fun with breeding. Probably don't go and waste all your money, not really knowing what you're doing. The more experience of the game that you have and the more you look into the lineage, if you like, of the best bred horses, you'll get a better understanding, hopefully, of what combinations might work the best, okay? For me, I'm really looking at, I try and keep all my best racers, and then I breed best racer with best racer, and then when I get the offspring, I race them again and test them, and then try and keep the best racer from those combinations to then breed again. So I go best to best to best to best. That's my tactic, and it takes a little bit longer than sort of skipping through without worrying too much about the race talent. Zed Gazette's another good one, yes. Thanks, Raymond. I need to get all these great tools together. There's so many great tools popping up. If you're on my Facebook group, then there's a post in there where we're trying to collate, if you like, all the different Zed tools, and then I'll put them on a file in the group and save it. All right, let's do some questions, guys and girls. Put up some questions if you have them, and we'll run through those, and then we'll call it a day. I've got some notes on my phone for some really great topics in the next 2 or 3 days, so hopefully we'll get to that. Yeah, absolutely. Always be careful. Just don't trust anyone. Even if it looks like me, Poseidon Racing is contacting you via private message, it could be a fake Poseidon that's been made up. So just don't trust anyone. In that scenario, because there's a lot of people in the wild west of crypto that are trying to take your money, off you and lighten up your wallet without giving you anything in return. Yeah, that's a good point, Raymond. When you buy a horse from a non-drop, so from Discord or Matic Open C, you also want to check to some degree if that horse has been running in paid races. So you'll be able to see the odds on some of these stat sites. In the future, I'm going to put it in the comments below. I'll start getting these stat sites together, and I'll put it in the comments below, so you can check that out. But when you're looking at those odds, you might have $5 and $6 odds, but you need to also check whether those races were free or paid, because the free races are generally a lot weaker. So a $6 in a free race might equate to $15 in a paid race. So you need to be aware of that too, because you can get a nasty surprise. You think, oh, this horse is the best thing in Zed Run. Keep in mind, people are selling the horses because they don't really want them. So most of the horses, unless you're paying big ETH, 5, 10, 20 ETH, it's probably not as good as you think it is. I mean, it might be, but you know, the unraced stuff is always a nice option too. Have I been happy with Zed and how they're looking out for the future of the whole platform? Yes, absolutely. I've got 100% faith in this team. They're incredible. They listen. They have great vision of what they want the game to look like. And they're constantly tweaking the game just to get the gameplay aspect at the highest level possible. And I can see them to continue doing that into the future. They're really, really great. Andrew asks, what's coming first, breeding or drop? I think the drop, to be honest. From a demand perspective, if the drop came first, then the demand's going to be crazy. Maybe they're better off doing breeding first and then the drop to sort of reduce demand a little bit. I don't know. But they also tweeted the other day that the Atari promotion is coming soon too. And that's the first we've heard about that for probably 2 or 3 months. So if you haven't heard, Atari and Zed have a partnership of some description. And Atari or Zed are branding 20 horses. So 2 at each Zed level, all males. 2 Z1s, 2 Z2s, 2 Z3s, all the way down to 10. So there'll be 20 in total. And they'll be branded with a special Atari, 1980s looking skin with the Atari retro stripes or something like that. Anyway, we're not exactly sure. They might even be different games. One might be Pong and one might be Tanks and one might be, something else. So that will be really interesting as well. Now, they're going to put them in the breeding barn first. I don't believe they're going to race them. They're going straight to the breeding barn. You'll get the option to breed with those horses if you're quick, and then they're going to be auctioned. So that's going to be super interesting. To be honest, I'm not overly interested in breeding with them, but I'm super interested in seeing what the auction prices go for. Absolutely. What's the cheapest horse? Game, what do we got here? Game X Hostile. Hello, mate. How are you? GXH. I haven't seen you before here, so if you're new, hit that subscribe button. That would be awesome. The cheapest horse at a drop is likely to be around $150 to $200, I would think, for a Z10. The cheapest horse after market is, you could potentially get one for free if someone's nice enough to give you one. Or, message around, try and find one. But be careful. Not everyone's trustworthy. So people could try and relieve you of some Ethereum. So Open C Matic is probably the safest. So if you strike up a deal, just say, hey, can you put that on Open C Matic for me and send me the link and I'll buy it. And look, it's going to cost them 5% more in fees or something. But you could say, yeah, I'm willing to pay an extra 5% for you to put that on Matic, and then make sure that we get a good, safe transaction. Manu K3, what's more valuable for breeding, a low number Genesis or a high Z number that is very successful? We don't know. There's not enough data. I would tend to lean towards low number and successful, but you didn't ask that question, did you? Low number unraced might be okay. Low number and terrible, who knows? High number, depends how high. If we're talking Z50 cross, I might not be all that keen. But if it's a cheap breed, if it's only a $50 breed, I might give it a shot. But if it's a $500 breed, I might be like, well, let someone else test that out and we'll see how they go. We'll see what the success rate is. So I'm sitting back a lot at the moment, just following my tactics, not taking too many risks, not wasting too much money, and see what everyone else does and see where the patterns develop, and then try and follow those patterns once they start to show. Midnight Black Zabo cross Z15 Colt 0.15 fixed. What's 0.15? ETH is over 3 grand, so you're looking at, what's that, about 450 bucks, is it? My math is not great, guys. My maths is not great. If ETH is still around 3.2 by 0.15, oh, it wasn't bad, was it? 480. Look, is it raced? Continent, is it raced? If it's raced, Z15, cross. Yeah, the cross is not great. Look, to be honest, I think you can get something cheaper than that, mate. I think you can get something cheaper. 471, yeah, we were pretty close. Good question, VV. Did I miss one? Oh, I did. VV, thanks for the heads up there, Raymond. What do I do with a horse that keeps finishing the top half of the field and moving up in class but has only won one race? There's a lot of horses like this. I've got a bunch of them myself, and I retire them usually after about 15 or 20 races. Or depending, if they have a few wins and I can put them in free races. Some of those style horses, if you put them in free races, will get $4 and $5 odds, and you can bump up the win rate. And I think they're going to be valuable in the future because they show a high level of consistency. Now, if we have tournament style racing, at the moment we've got sort of, if we equate this to a poker table or an online poker sort of scenario, at the moment all the tournaments are one-off sit and go style racing. So you only have to win that one race to move through. But imagine when we have more of a satellite style racing where you have 32 individual races all across the one distance, and then you put all those horses in. So what's 32 times 12? Crikey, about 320 or something. We'll go with that. Probably a little bit more. But you've got 300 odd horses all starting off at the base level of that tournament. And those 32 races, maybe half the field, the bottom half of the field gets cut out each race. And you go to a 16 race field. And then the bottom half gets cut out. You go to 8 races, then 4 races, then 2. Then the grand final where probably all 12 races get paid out prize money. Of course, the number one horse gets a really big check for having started out with 300 odd horses. Now, that sounds absolutely epic to me. And what I love about it is it's a completely different style of racing because the horses that are first last, like Pinkman, some of the best horses, maybe even Ducky Malin, they're more than likely going to throw in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th in one of their first 4 or 5 races, and they'll be knocked out. Okay, so we get to the end and it's a completely different new style of horse that we need to breed for that style of racing. And to me, that style of racing is going to be the pinnacle, okay, to some degree. I'm not saying that Ducky Malin is not going to be one of the greatest horses ever. She absolutely is. And she is always going to dominate sit and go style racing, I would imagine. But when it comes to tournament style, you could even have bigger tournaments in the future where you start with 1,000 odd races, you know, when we've got millions of horses in the ecosystem and you get to the last race and it's $1 million prize check. Just because, you know, much like poker, a lot of the people watching here, you know, we come from that background. We like crypto, we like new stuff, we like a little bit of gambling, we like a bit of poker, and this can be much like that with those big tournaments. But if you're excited about big satellite style entry tournaments that finish with a huge crescendo like that, I mean, thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if that sounds exciting, because that is the one thing I'm super excited about entering when those races come along. And look, VV, your style horse here could be excellent at that style, but for the time being in these one-off sit and goes, it might be just time to put it on ice, do some breeding, see how it goes. The newer Zed users have so much more data. Yes, true, to work with. Yeah, there's a lot more data sites. There's a new one popping up every week these days. So I'll try and get the best of those, and I'll list them somewhere for everyone. Continat, I don't know how to say that, Continent. I'm going to do a giveaway shortly, YouTube/email list. If you haven't seen, I've got an email list for my advanced offspring sales notice at poseidonracing.run. Jump over there, join the email list, and I'm going to do a giveaway. It'll be a Nakamoto, a bred horse, Nakamoto by the looks of things. I estimate it's probably worth around the $1,000 to $1,500 range. And we're going to give that away, myself and my brother, through this YouTube, the email list and the Facebook group. So if you haven't joined those, make sure you join up to those groups and so you don't miss out on the giveaway. We'll probably do that next month. I'll just switch back to full screen here, seeing we're not doing that. Yeah, everyone wants to hand up for a free horse, don't we? Unfortunately, look, if I had lots of cheapish horses, I would give away a lot more horses, but because I missed out on breeding, I've got nothing. All my horses are really, really decent at the moment, top notch. So at the moment, we're kind of hamstrung. So when breeding opens, yeah, we'll do some more giveaways. But I do have one horse that I'm willing to give away, even if breeding doesn't open shortly. Colton, any chance you get more than one horse? Mate, we're all hoping for more than one horse, to be honest. I'll be trying to buy, my brother will be trying to buy, Doofy will be trying to buy, everyone will be trying to buy more than one horse. So some will get lucky. Some will probably get 4 or 5 because it's just their day and they just get lucky. Some will get none. It just sort of depends. Fingers crossed that the spread, that they have a nice system where there's a good spread. Zed potential greater than Axie Infinity potential? Look, in my opinion, absolutely, Andrew. That's only my opinion, not financial advice, of course, but for me, there's so much more dimension and so many more aspects and niches and markets and opportunities in Zed is an entire metaverse. Or their vision is to build it into an entire Zed metaverse, a future world, if you like, where there's all sorts of different stables, there's breeding, there's racing stables, there's, you know, we've already seen Stanley, is it Stanley Studios? He's doing some graphic design work for me at the moment. He's like the Zed graphic designer. There's guys that are sort of become the middleman for the sales and stuff to make the sales more safer. Yeah, there's so many more aspects to this that we haven't yet seen. There'll be sponsorships, there'll be clubhouses, there'll be, yeah. I think there's so many more aspects. You've got the different racing styles. You could use the Zed horses for sightseeing tours in Decentraland. You know, all the little boys and girls are probably going to want a Zed pony in the backyard, or maybe there'll be a different pony. But who knows? Who knows? I think so. Brandon, how are you? Have an unraced Zed 6 with a rare coat. Should I keep it unraced or race it? I don't know about breeding. You know, put it up there and see if anyone wants to breed with it. Because it's a rare coat, you might get some hits. You can try racing it, but you have the risk that it could slightly devalue because it's not a good racer. You know, whilst they're unraced, you know, the value is increasing to some degree. But yeah, it's hard to say. It depends. If I only had one horse and that was all I had, I would probably be inclined to keep it unraced. But because I had the opportunity to buy 10, 20, 30 horses, I could race them because I was pretty confident that one of them would be good and I wouldn't be disappointed that they were all bad. But if you only got one horse, the chances are it might be bad. And then you're disappointed and then you've got to try and find another one maybe. And it's hard to find another one. So maybe I would leave it unraced until the next drop or two. And if you're thinking of buying another few horses, and then once you've got 4 or 5, you might be able to risk racing them and feel a little bit more comfortable. Colton, you like the idea of those tournaments? I do. Raymond. Yeah, girlfriends are good at grounding us, aren't they? So Raymond says, my girlfriend listened to me rave on about Zed for 15 minutes and she said, what's to stop someone else from doing the same thing with digital greyhounds or pigeons? And he didn't have a reply. Well, let's consider that Zed Run has been in the development stage and the gaming design stage and the gaming development stage for 2.5 years or so. That's a significant first mover advantage. And now we're building the momentum of, the user base. We're at 30,000 on Discord. I don't know how many stables there are, but maybe 20,000 stables or something like that. As we're building, we have a significant first mover advantage. So yes, there could be digital greyhounds or digital pigeons, but what's to stop, what's to say that that won't be Zed greyhounds or Zed pigeons? Or someone was saying like Zed monsters. I think it was Zed Gazette was saying like, let's breed like, these cool zombie monsters where you have the different heads, sort of similar to, the combinations that you're seeing coming from some of the other NFT collectibles, but they're not, Axie Infinities and I guess Crypto Kitties, racing Crypto Kitty style could be a thing as well. Now that could be a thing as long as you assign specific racing traits to the specific, whatevers, so that you can breed and breed races instead of just breeding collectability. Yeah, absolutely. Greyhounds, pigeons, it could all be the case, but who has the technology currently and who has the significant first mover advantage? Zed Run. So that would be my answer, that, we're 2.5 to 3 years into this already, and for someone else to catch up might prove difficult. It's not impossible though, it certainly could happen. But look, if we can all help Zed develop the best community, the best possible gaming experience, then what is there to improve on? If we leave nothing or very little to improve on, then, we're kind of there, It's like saying, what are the chances of, ADA or one of these other coins sort of eclipsing Ethereum? Well, they can do it there. They are trying to do it. But Ethereum has that first mover advantage and has that big advantage of having a huge user base and lots of programmers working on it and all those different things. So, it could happen, but we're the first movers. No, Joe, I haven't heard any more information about what the next drop may look like, except there won't be a queue system, is what I've heard. Yeah, Jamie, 1 per user might be a thing at the drop, but again, people will find a way around that. They'll create extra wallets. So again, it might just disadvantage the naive new user to a degree. Maybe. I think maybe that would be a good option. Yo-Yos. Found the game today. Welcome, welcome. You are very early, so don't be afraid of that. Watching my vids. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Buying their first horse. Look, as long as you're only spending a very tiny fraction of your budget, and again, not financial advice, but if you're only spending 1 or 2% of what your end budget might be, or maybe 5% of what your end budget might be towards Zed, then I think you can sort of jump in and use the horse, buy a cheap horse, and use it to sort of learn the racing and learn the game a little bit. But look, I don't think I had a good grasp of I still don't think I've got an incredible grasp of what the game will look like in 5 or 10 years. But you need to spend 2 or 3 months researching everything and developing your own vision of where you think the puck is going. No good sort of hanging around here, or this is where the game is at. Where is the game going? And what are the important pieces, the strategic pieces of the puzzle that we need, where the game's going. If this was a digital NFT chess game, which chess piece would you like to invest your money into? Do you want to buy a pawn, or do you want to buy the king or the queen? And you need to find out or strategize and create a vision that tells you which are the most important horses in the game. Now, I've done that, and if you look through my videos, you'll get a good idea of what my opinion is, but there's no guarantee my vision and my opinion is correct, okay? It could be way off the mark, and I'm sitting here, and anyone that follows me is going to be sitting left with some horses that are not as useful and not as valuable and as important as what I consider them to be. So you need to sort of figure out what you think are the most important aspects, and the way to go about that is just immersing yourself as fully in the game as possible. Well, Andrew, that's the risk. Absolutely, that's the risk. Do I think they can execute? I do. That's why I've got a bunch of horses. Yeah, always be cautious, cautious. NFT crypto often sell ideas. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, be cautious. Only invest what you're willing to absolutely lose. Throw out the window. It would be my strategy. But, you know, it's exciting to be in this space. Yeah. Look, there's risks. There's absolutely risks involved. If you want to be involved, then you have to assume a certain level of risk and a certain level of losing money, as well as a certain level of potentially gaining money. Contadad, what's better, elite over exclusive? It kind of depends. Kind of depends. If you've got one with a better win percentage, then that one is probably better. Then if you go to the exclusive level, the mares are considered better because they can breed with Genesis males and hold and stay at, the offspring will stay at the exclusive level if you breed with a Genesis male. So the mares are considered slightly more valuable than the studs to some people. Not all people, but some people. Andrew, yeah, I don't know. Budget aside, what Z number is the best bang for buck? I like the Z1s myself, but bang for buck? My bang for buck would be the lower Z number of each breed type category. And what I mean by that, not breed type, each, what are they called? Genesis, I'm not Genesis, I'm talking about, what am I talking about? Bloodlines. I'm talking about bloodlines. Bloodlines. So the lower Z number. So Nakamoto's are 1s and 2s. The 2s are about 50% cheaper than the 1s, but I don't think they're 50% worse at racing or breeding. So I would consider them to be good bang for buck. And then as you come to the Zabos, you've got 3s and 4s. And look, the 4s are considerably cheaper than the 3s, but they're very, very close, you know, in capabilities. And then as you go to the Finnies, you've got 5s, 6s, 7s. And I would say the same is for the 7s. And then as you get to Buterins, 8s, 9s, 10s, I would say the same for the 10s. Now, again, that's not, it may not be accurate, but that would be my strategy to some degree. Thanks, Raymond. Advice, watch all Poseidon videos and then move to Doofy and then read everything that Zed Gazette's got to write, and then you'll be pretty much up to speed. It's not a rich people's game at all. It's not a rich people's game. You'll be able to buy horses in this game. When breeding opens again, you'll be able to buy horses for $40, $50 within a couple of weeks, I would say. And then within 6 months, I would think you'll be able to get horses for maybe 10 or 20 bucks. And you'll be able to, and there's no reason why some of those $10, $20 horses can't go on to win, you know, a good chunk of prize money too. No guarantee they will, but. Manu K, no, I'm not racing today. I haven't raced for a while. I'm sort of sitting back and seeing what develops with the racing. It's really, really strong at the moment, so I haven't been racing. Zed dog racing, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if that was to become a thing in a year's time, say Zed builds up and develops and it's like awesome, and they go, right, let's do Zed greyhound racing. Then when that first starts out, you might be able to get in again for really, really cheap at the beginning. I would imagine you could. Dan, if the drop has 30,000 people trying to buy 5,000 horses in 5 minutes, odds are 6 to 1, or like you say, $6. Well, actually, 6 to 1 is actually $7 because the 1 is incorporated into the dollar odds. But yes, I get what you're saying. No, more than that, the next drop, you'll be able to get the cheapest horse will be around 150 to 200 US. But yeah, be patient, mate, be patient. As I said, you'll get bred horses. Once breeding opens again, it's closed at the moment, so all the stock is gone. You know, the sale's finished, the store is empty. So anything left in the store is really expensive. 1,500 to 2,000. Again, not financial advice, but I think the horses are going to go really quick, so I wouldn't mess about. I'd go, if it comes in a tiered drop, last time it went 1s, 2s, then 3s, 4s, then 5, 6, 7s, then 8s, 9s, 10s separately. If it comes in a tiered drop, I'd be trying to buy as soon as my budget allows. And if I get one, happy days, I've got a horse. If I don't, then I try and buy at the next level, and the next level, and the next level. And if I don't get anything, I don't, but at least you had a good red hot shot. Yeah, Matt, one called Billion sold for 125 USD equivalent. Now, interestingly, if we could see the figures on that on OpenSea right now, that 125 USD in ETH value would now be valued at more like 200,000 USD because of the ETH value has gone up, okay? So keep that in mind too. Oh, yeah, I don't know about whether a really bad Z2 or Z4 racer will be a better breeder than, say, a decent Z6 or 7 racer. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. That's all part of the risk sort of profile, isn't it? Do I buy a really cheap Z2 Genesis hoping it'll be a good breeder? There is one really good Z1 breeder called Zion that's not a very good racer. It's not the worst, but not a great racer, but it's throwing out epic offspring. Just like the best Z2 legends you've ever seen. So, yeah, maybe that's a thing. Mainstream. Yeah, I understand that, Morton. I understand that for sure, but the amount of horses that this ecosystem can breed in a month is extraordinary. And even if mainstream sucks them up for the next 2 or 3 months, if you're patient, those $10 horses will come. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Well, I can't guarantee anything because Zed might change the minimum price or whatnot, but I'm pretty sure those cheap horses will come. Yep, NBA players are talking it up. Everyone's talking it up. There was a story in the New York Times. Yahoo Finance had a story. There's a lot of big influencers now getting involved. So yeah, it's certainly looking interesting. Trevor, I'm not sure. That all depends on your budget, mate. That all depends on your budget to some degree, but I would recommend Genesis myself. Not financial advice, but I would recommend Genesis. No, I don't think so, Morton. I've answered that question multiple times. The average Joe will not be priced out. Yeah, Doofy Racing has a lot of beginner style horses. Look up and contact Doofy. I will have a few beginner style horses, but mostly my horses are top end, so your Z2 Legends and your higher end, because I've got a lot of Z1s. But I'll still be selling those cheap. So join my offspring sales list at PoseidonRacing.run because we intend to sell our horses with quite a bit of meat left on the bone just to help build this up. So at least for the next 2 or 3 months, we'll be selling what we consider to be under market price. So Doofy Racing, the breeds that he sells people, I entered for a Nakamoto, so does that mean a Nakamoto from Doofy? It won't be a Z1 because you can't breed Z1s. It could be a Z2 Legend when breeding comes back, or it could be a Z3 or Z4, Z5 or Z6 Nakamoto. They go all the way down depending on what breeding stock Doofy has. Can you create a horse by breeding the same mum and dad? Yeah, it's a random combination of the mum and dad genes. I don't know exactly how that comes together yet. Nick, you just joined us. You'll have to go back to the start, mate. We're just at the end here. I'm going to wrap that up now, actually. I think we've been going. How long have we been going for? Probably nearly an hour. But guys, that was a nice little intimate session. We got 24, 25 with us now, 21 likes. Anyone that's just with us now, hit the like button. See if we can't get it above 100% likes for viewers. That would be awesome. And I'll be back probably tomorrow or the next day, roughly around this time, which is about 9:30 a.m. my time, or roughly about an hour prior to whatever the time is right now. Maybe tomorrow, if not, it'll be the next day. I'll do a couple of streams this week. You got the entry fee. Thanks, Nick. You're a legend. All right, everyone, guys and girls, thank you, and take care. Take care, Morton. And we'll see you guys in the coming days, and we'll talk more about all the important aspects of Zed Run and all the exciting things coming up. We'll talk about Atari and a few other things in the coming days. All right, thanks again, and I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.